Thank you, Dr. Pastor. And if I may echo you and underscore our gratitude for Professor Carol O'Leary. Thank you very much, Carol. I'd like to have a hand for Carol. My younger son, Jamil, who gives me much joy and causes me to think a great deal. We spoke earlier by telephone. He lives in Athens. He's in Athens now making a film. He said, "Dad, what are you going to talk about?" Well, I said, "I will talk about a number of things." He said, "Tell me about that. Let me repeat them." I said, "What we need for Iraq is a convention, number one, a convention to establish an Iraqi Bill of Rights. We need that. Number two, a body to review how the educational system constructs citizenship and representation within the system. Number three, public spaces where both economic and social activity can flourish to encourage civic participation, especially for teenagers, i.e. an Iraqi America Corps, to create a new national identity through civic duty and education. Number four, an official forum to discuss the cultural context of a federalist-based political system in the new Iraq and how cultural issues relate to the challenge of finding an appropriate model of federalism for Iraq. I say this because for me, Iraq will need its own unique model, different model. There's need for accommodation of, as we have heard, ethnic identity while maintaining a unifying structure of technical integration. The fifth point I made to Jamil, multi-ethnic cities like Baghdad and Kirkuk could become federal districts, autonomous districts, rather than states or provinces within Iraq. They could have autonomy and would not become part of other states or provinces. They would stay connected to the central government. This would help to reduce ethnic competition over strategic cities and associated resources. A special commission could be appointed. He said, "How do you do it?" I said, "A special commission could be appointed to formulate recommendations for multi-ethnic Iraq, multi-ethnic cities." Six, a formula for the future of Iraq to balance the rights of the state with the rights of people. As someone like myself who began my professional career very much focused on human rights, international politics, it's increasingly clear to me that we keep talking about rights of states, but we have to talk about rights of peoples. And that would have to be part of our real concern. While there is much to learn from the Western tradition of political coexistence, one of the many great contributions of Western liberalism is political coexistence, political pluralism. One of the many great contributions of Islam is cultural pluralism, cultural diversity. And I think we can wed one with the other. The challenge is how to reconcile between both, how to reconcile between political pluralism and cultural pluralism. Working with cultural pluralism in Iraq will require creativity. And my seventh point that I gave Jamil, affirming cultural diversity in Iraq need not preclude a coherent national identity. Iraq is the cradle of civilizations. It is a source of traditions that have been incorporated by many diverse cultures. So surely, I said to my son Jamil, Iraqis must be able of achieving unity in diversity. After hearing me, Jamil said, Dad, I thought a day will come when you will mature and be more of a realist. This is dreaming. He said, how do you think they can do it? So I reminded my son Jamil of my old friend, the late distinguished gentleman, Professor Kenneth Boulding. Some of you may have read his work. Kenneth Boulding, a prominent scholar in the field of peace research, and I must confess to you that I am in that area, and that we in peace studies suffer from a genetic defect. I call it optimism. But referring to Kenneth Boulding, in a very important book of his, Three Faces of Power, he makes a distinction, and I would like to say this slowly, between what he calls destructive power, meaning the power of the stick, or threat power, the power of the threat. He calls that destructive power. Then he talks about productive power, the power of the carrot, or exchange power. And third, he distinguished between destructive, productive power, and the third one, integrative power, the power of the hug, or the power of love. He talks about three faces of power. Destructive power, my dearly beloved people, is power over. Productive power and integrative power is power with. Let me pause for a moment. Jamil says, so what are you telling me? I said, son, the challenge for my beloved Iraqi brothers and sisters today is to answer the very important question very creatively. Can Iraqis envision a future in which their unity derives more from power with, meaning productive and integrative power, than from power over, meaning destructive or threat power, the power of the strong man? This is a challenge for Iraq. Now, he said, do you have an answer? I said, yes. I said, they can do it. I've been working with this with many Iraqis, and they can do it. The good news is they can do it.